So, got to say that our first day or a half day in Jerusalem hasn't been particularly successful. Ended up in Palestine by accident, went the wrong way despite Bronnie's protestations, and we spent about 5 minutes there, and it was 5 of the most unpleasant minutes we've spent since we've been on this trip. Had to show our passports to guys toting rifles, got the hell out of there very quickly, only to find that the hotel that we'd booked was probably in the worst part of Jerusalem, so we've headed back into town. And we've been trying to find the Mount of Olives without a heck of a lot of success. All we could find was some Catholic shrines and places that clearly weren't what they were supposed to be. So we're trying to find the hotel we're staying at tomorrow night, and we've ended up at what is the Mount of Olives, quite by accident, and it is just exactly what you would expect it to be. The problem with this place, of course, is that everywhere you go, everything you look at has some historic significance. So it's just history. Everything you touch, everything you look at is history that you've read about somewhere, or you know about, or you've seen in a movie. It's all here. So this is probably an even better view. This is just a grove of olives. And as I was saying before, pretty much exactly as I would have seen this in my mind's eye. Maybe a bit greener, maybe a bit more grass, but apart from that, a mount of olive trees. So personally quite surreal, and yeah, just sort of taking it in. It's very, very cool. There's even some sheep grazing and some goats grazing over there. If you just have a look into the distance, you'll see them through there. So we're actually right in the middle of the city, but this is, you know, for those of you familiar with Auckland, it's kind of Cornwall Park in the middle of One Tree Hill. Quite something. And there's Bronnie heading off, so there's a lower half down here as well. So I would imagine originally this was all just one unbroken hillside. And they put a pathway in here, as you would, to make it easier for people to access, but that wouldn't be a part of what was here back in the day. If you look out into the distance there, you'll see the Dome of the Rock, which is the site that the mosque that the Muslims have built on the platform, which was originally occupied by Solomon's Temple. And what's significant about that, it's in the Gospels, is a story about how Jesus was sitting up here, and the disciples came up and were pointing out the temple tomb, which was on that site in those days, and were telling him how magnificent it was and how well built it was and how important it was. And he said to them, basically to paraphrase, he said, none of that will be left. It will be completely dismantled so that not one rock of it will be left there. And if you look up there, you'll see that that's exactly what happened. The Romans invaded, the Romans put down a revolt some years later, and they completely destroyed the temple, and it's gone. So where the Dome of the Rock is, just off to the right of that, would have been the original site of Solomon's Temple. So you can imagine that they were sitting right here when they were pointing to it. And it is gone. There's not one rock left of it. And that edifice built by the Muslims was built in 688 and has been there ever since, and it's probably one of the major flashpoints for a Third World War, if there was ever going to be one, because it's a point of particular conflict between Christians and Jews on one side and Muslims on the other. So that's the Mount of Olives. It's a hugely important site, and if you know your scriptures at all, you will know this site well. So very, very